Hey guys, I'm Dimension Jump, and today I'll be doing my top 5 favourite galaxies from Super Mario Galaxy 1. Now, Mario Galaxy, as well as its sequel, are two great games. I would say that the first game, I would say I prefer more over the sequel, mainly because Mario Galaxy has a lot of cool elements in it, and it had brought in a lot of stuff. Galaxy 2 was just more Mario Galaxy, and within both games are some really interesting and cool galaxies. And in today's video, I'll be going over some of my favourite galaxies from the first game. So for number 5 is Freeze Flame Galaxy. Now, what I like about Freeze Flame Galaxy is that it's basically like Shiverburn Galaxy in Galaxy 2, but it's basically like that, and it has probably one of my favourite. And basically, to introduce this galaxy, it's basically there are some planets that have ice, some planets that have fire, and I think on the third star or something like that, the first planet that you go to, instead of it being ice, it's got a combination of fire, and lava and ice, and that's a really cool concept. And in, I think, the third star, or the third normal star, you can basically, in order to get to the star in the final area, it's basically a combination of fire and ice pads, and that's a really cool thing. And the whole galaxy is just, you have to really think of where you're going to go and how you're going to use your movements to your advantage, because there's a bit in, I think, the first star, in which you have to, in order to, I believe, get the star, you have to try and move around or on these platforms, which will be engulfed by lava, and you have to try and think of how to get to the star, or I think it's either that or getting the fire flower in the particular level to get to the star, I believe. It's either one of the two. And it's just a really cool concept of just adding two opposing elements together. And I really do hope that there's more like that in future games. And it kind of reminds me in Mario Odyssey, where you went to the Desert Kingdom. And it kind of reminds me of that, where at the beginning it's all cold, and then once you've beaten both the wedding people and the big statue head thing, it starts going back to normal, and I think that's a really cool concept, and maybe there could be similar stuff to that in future games. For number 4 is Toy Time Galaxy. Now, Toy Time Galaxy is very interesting. I do enjoy how each level or each area of the areas are toy based and all have toy themed elements. For instance, I believe the first planet that you go to is basically just a toy track, or no, a train track, and it's just a train, and you can see all the different, some of the members of the Toad Brigade, as like, I think one of them being Captain Toad. I think that's quite cool, and you can just go and basically, in one of the levels, you basically destroy a giant robot version of Bowser. I think that's quite cool. And then you can also go to an 8-bit Mario planet, and then I think on the purple star, on the purple comet star, it flips to the other side, and it being Luigi. That's really cool, and I think it's just an interesting way of using a planet and just flipping it for a bonus star or one of the comet stars. And yeah, and I think this is the only time that the spring mushroom is actually useful, I would say, because the spring mushroom in both Galaxy 1 and 2, it's not the best. It's kind of all over the place, and it's just there, and it's kind of useless. It's kind of hard to control, but I feel like that in Toy Time Galaxy, that's probably the only galaxy it works in, and yeah, I think Toy Time Galaxy overall is an interesting galaxy. For number 3 is Gooder Galaxy. Now, Gooder Galaxy is one of the first galaxies that you go to, and I really enjoy it because it's I think it helps you somewhat go into the game and just helps you figure out the controls in a sort of sense, because it just helps you figure out, okay, there are these planets and I can do this and that. And even though you've got the tutorials star, which makes you get the first grand star, even though it kind of shows you how to do stuff like collecting chip shards or how to walk on planets, I feel like that Gooder Galaxy helps elevate that to a certain degree. Like, okay, we've got these galaxies and these planets that can do the same thing, but also there's larger planets like that big cylindrical planet in the center of the galaxy of that particular one. And yeah, I think it's just a really awesome way of showing more of the game and how more elements work. And it's just a really fun galaxy, and and I think what would also help it is the music, because it's just it just bombards you with like this upbeat, fun theme, and I think it works for that particular galaxy. For number 2 is Sweet Sweet Galaxy. Now, Sweet Sweet Galaxy is probably out of all of the Luma, or out of all the Hungry Luma levels, it's probably my favourite one, mainly because it's the very first one in terms of the domes, in terms of the dome Hungry Lumas. And yeah, I think this is a galaxy that's really interesting, because it can show that the game isn't just, oh, here's a basic water planet, here's a basic desert planet. Literally, the galaxies can be anything and everything, because like because as I said before, you've got galaxies that are water based, you've got ones that are ice based, fire based, whatever. And with Sweet Sweet Galaxy, even though it's a short level, I do like the way that how this galaxy moves, because what you have to do is try and avoid various platforms and electrical barriers. And yeah, also the floor moves, and it's also got like these cutouts, and I had to jump over the floor, avoid all the pitfalls. And I do like how you can see different members of the Toad Brigade, and they give you small words of encouragement. The hardest part, I would say, if you're first time playing Mario Galaxy and you're playing Sweet Sweet Galaxy, is probably towards the middle and the end, because around the middle of the galaxy, you'll see this narrow path, and the floor will move, and that can be hard. As well as on the floor, you can see different cutouts, so that'll be a lot harder. And then with the end, you'll see several electrical barriers, as well as the floor itself. There's no walls, and there's only some platforms, and it's quite narrow, so you have to try and avoid it there. But overall, I think Sweet Sweet Galaxy is an enjoyable, fun level, and I think it's a really nice Luma galaxy. And for number 1 is Honey Hive Galaxy. Now, Honey Hive Galaxy it seems like out of all the galaxies, the most peaceful one, even though it's got 2 rival factions, that being the weird bug-looking enemies and the bees. And this is also the galaxy to introduce Captain Toad and his Toad Brigade, so that's cool. And this just looks like a peaceful galaxy that you wouldn't mind going to every now and again. And I do like how this galaxy helps us be introduced to the new power-ups in the game, that being Bee Mario. And this isn't just, oh, there's like, it doesn't have like, a lot of the same power-ups. It's only got like three power-ups in Mario Galaxy from previous Mario games, that being the Fire Flower, the Ice Flower, I believe, was in a previous game. If not, this is probably the game that introduced that power-up, and the Fire Flower. So it's nice seeing old power-ups being brought into the game, as well as being introducing new power-ups to get used to, and I do like the bee suit. I feel like the Bee Mario is probably my favorite power-up in the whole game, just because it's Mario, but he's a bee, and it's so cool. And I do like some of the levels. Like there's one level where you have to try and get on top of these flowers and try and get the star, but you can only go on the flowers as Bee Mario. Then there's that one level where I think the very first one where you have to, in order to get to the star, you have to get all the chip shards from the queen bee, and yeah, that's quite weird. And then you have to fight the mortal enemy bugs guys, and that's quite cool. That's an interesting start, and yeah, I would say the Honey Hive Galaxy is a very fun, very enjoyable, very peaceful looking galaxy, and it's I think it's just an interesting way of going through a level, as well as being introduced to new power ups, as well as bringing in old ones. Like I think one of the levels has the rainbow star or the superstar or whatever. So yeah, I think it's a really enjoyable level. So that's been my top 5 favourite galaxies from Super Mario Galaxy 1. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.